Hey Pearls, on today's video, we are starting the beginning of a brand new series here on Pennies into Pearls, and it is answering one of the top questions, one of the questions I get more than any other question really, and that is, how can I get my spouse on board with our finances? I thought it would be appropriate to bring hubby on board, and we are going to share with you guys 11 tips to instantly increase your success when you're trying to talk to your spouse about money. If you have a hard time getting the conversation started, you're gonna wanna stay tuned. Welcome back, you guys. I'm Brittany.
I'm Tommy.
You wasn't prepared.
I don't know. I don't know what I'm doing.
And this is Pennies into Pearls, where I talk all about finance, food, and fun, always to help you guys live your dream life on less and help your family do the same thing. If you're new here, you're gonna make sure and want to hit that subscribe button. And if you find any of the videos helpful, will you please give it a thumbs up and then share it with all of your friends? Because if you think it's useful, chances are they probably do too. And don't forget to follow me on Instagram, because that is where I share all my daily frugal living. The family's in there all the time, and it's really hard for me to share every single thing I want to here on YouTube, but Instagram is where I can do that with you guys. Okay, so before we get into the 11 tips that we want to share with you guys, we kind of want to share with you what our story has been, where we started and how we were able to finally eventually get the conversation started, because it wasn't always easy, right?
No.
Okay, so Tommy's gonna kind of give you guys the background on our story.
Okay. Do you have water for real? I'm new. Okay. So we were $20,000 in debt, which was unnecessary, and we didn't have to be there.
Right.
We both had full-time jobs, making pretty good money. Combined income was very healthy. And during that time, we also had a new baby girl, and I was going to school at night. The biggest issue is with all of these stresses and successes, we still got overdraft fees every 2 weeks. Like
Every 2 weeks.
it was like days before we were gonna get paid. We're like, okay, stop spending money. I don't care if you have gas in your
I would
tank.
like frantically send him a text message like, do not spend $1.
And usually I was buying lunch when she sent me that text. So it happened every 2 weeks, and that didn't help our debt situation at all. Anytime we tried to talk about money, someone ended up being a little defensive. Usually it was me that was a little defensive.
I felt like you were saying it was me who was defensive.
No, well, obviously we both had some issues with spending.
I think so, yeah.
So that's where I think the root of the problem was, is neither of us actually, we wanted to change, but we weren't willing to do anything to change.
That's what it was. We hadn't quite figured out what we wanted to do yet.
We just assumed that eventually we'd get a raise and then we wouldn't have a problem anymore. But that never happened.
No, we're still waiting for that to happen.
It's been 11 years, I'm still waiting for a raise.
But eventually, we were able to get on the same page, right?
Yes.
Yes. Start moving forward with getting rid of our debt and all that stuff. And what the game changer for us was when we started really thinking about what we wanted to have our lives look like. What did we want? And the two big things, and the things that kind of were an awakening, a wake-up call for us.
A realization.
Yes, if you will. Would be, one is we both didn't want me to be working anymore.
We wanted you to be at home with the kids.
Yeah, we wanted me to be able to stay home with the baby. And the second thing was, we eventually wanted to buy a house. Still working on that one. Hopefully next week we'll buy a house. Those were the two biggest things that we wanted to do. But when we were like, okay, so what do we need to do? How much is it gonna cost to buy a house in San Diego?
A lot.
What do we need to do in order for me to quit my job? And if we kept spending the way that we currently were, there is no way we'd be able to do it.
It's never gonna work.
No. Being able to get on the same page as far as our goals were was a huge thing, which is why we together actually have created the Financial Unity Planner Kit. Financial Unity Planner Kit for couples, and it's 100% free for you guys. So just make sure and check all of the links down below, because anything we talk about in this video will be linked in the description box and also up in the iCards. In the next video, I'll go a lot more in depth on what the planner kit includes. What you guys need to know is that in the planner kit, you'll get individual goal worksheets to help align your goals and get you both on the same path. The most unique thing about it is then on the last worksheet that you guys are going to be working on together, I walk you through how to do that, is a financial action plan, and that is where you're going to assign financial tasks to each goal. Okay, so back to our story. What helped us be able to finally get to the point where we could talk through our finances, take down all the barriers and the walls, and we'd stop pointing blame at ourselves, really. I kind of think that was probably
ourselves.
We felt guilty.
Ourselves.
So there's 11, put up the finger, 11 tips that
11
we
tips.
Want to share with you guys. So number one would be timing, right?
Yes.
Like you can't do it when the kids are running around.
No children allowed.
Or if you guys just finished having a big argument.
Not a good idea.
Yeah. You need to make sure that the timing is right. And actually, I think it's a great idea to plan for it. Put it on your calendar. Everyone is crazy busy, and a lot of times, if we don't put it on our calendar,
it doesn't work.
No.
Link your calendars on your phones because it works.
Yes.
She tells me what I'm supposed to do.
So make sure that you guys set the time apart, set the time aside, and make it a priority. Our second tip is when you are having this conversation, replace the word you with we. And what that does is it helps break down the conversation so it doesn't feel so aggressive.
Right, because most of the time it's like, well, you got the overdraft last time.
Yeah.
So it's your fault we're still in debt. Or you could say, we eat out every day and we're going to be poor forever.
Yeah, and so just that simple change helps the conversation flow a lot easier and helps, again, keep those guards down.
Number 3, it's gonna get a little awkward.
Yeah.
So these conversations are not comfortable. Nobody likes to have financial conversations. We kind of do now, but that means that we're moving forward and we're progressing. But in the beginning, no one wanted to have these conversations at all.
And maybe not as much like awkward, but like it feels like no one is excited to start talking about money. I think once you guys get in the flow of things, we kind of get excited about money. Maybe not so much on the months where things didn't go according to plan, but once you start putting all of these things into practice that we're going to be talking about in this series, things get so much easier. But at the beginning, it's going to be uncomfortable. Just suck it up. Number 4 is making sure that you're honest. And hopefully that's something that you're already practicing in your marriage, right? But we were kind of talking about, like, it's not necessarily like we've never lied to each other, right?
Never.
We try our very best to be honest, but sometimes you might not realize that you're not sharing the entire truth.
You don't hide money.
Yes.
It doesn't mean you don't have individual money. I have a stash that I spend on whatever I want, and she has the same, but they're not secret. We know that we have them, and that makes life go round. Plus, I get an allowance for food every week.
And we're not just like secretly hiding money from each other or secretly spending money. Or I've heard about couples using credit cards that this other spouse didn't know about.
Danger.
Yeah, so just make sure that you're honest and put it all out on the table. Number 5 is going to be stop pointing fingers at each other. Okay? Just stop it. You really need to look at your finances as a couple. Like, I'm not going to point any fingers, but when we first got married, a lot of our debt came from somebody. But I can honestly say that I never have ever felt resentment against him for having that or bringing it to our marriage. Like, I've always looked at it as ours. Every financial dollar, every dollar of debt, I've just looked at it ours.
Sharing is caring. If you have things in your relationship that don't unify you, you will continually have problems. It'll never get better. So the more that you accept each other's actions as one, you'll be able to work through it as a couple, you'll be closer as a couple, and you'll be more successful as a couple. Individually, it's not going to work out very well. You might be able to reach some of your goals, but it's going to be harder, and your main, big, large goals are going to be unattainable unless you're working together.
Amen. Number 6 is to put each other first. Now, this is one piece of advice that we got on the day that we were married. Do you remember?
Of course I remember all of it. Every word.
So the individual that married us.
The dude that married us.
Yeah, he gave us the advice that if I'm always putting him first 100% of the time.
And I put her first 100% of the time.
Then guess what?
Everyone's needs will be met.
Yeah, so just remember that as you're moving forward, and in our next video we're going to be talking a lot more about setting goals. If you're putting each other first, you'll both be taken care of.
Everyone will be happy.
Number 7.
Forgive.
And we kind of already touched on this.
For bringing all that debt to our marriage.
Yeah, and sometimes people have really big spending problems, and maybe one individual has racked up most of the debt. It's just better to just...
We don't point fingers here.
Yeah.
No finger pointing.
We just need to move on. Like, forgive. Yeah.
Forgive.
Forgive. And...
Forgive.
But it's also important to address... Like, you can...
And then forgive.
It's also important to address, like, what the problem and the issue is, but you can do that without holding a grudge. Number 8.
This is for you ladies.
Or the guys.
Us, as men, we do have lots of special superpowers. We're amazing at most everything. One thing we do not have is mind reading skills. So... I don't know what she's thinking unless she tells me. Don't assume that we know what you are thinking. Just tell us. It's easier and healthier.
And feelings are going to play into this whole situation. So just say how you're feeling. Be considerate, but say how you're feeling. And if you have something that you secretly have been wanting for your future as a family,
say it.
Yeah. Because no one's gonna read your mind. Number 9 is make sure that you are thinking before you're speaking. Again, the emotions that play into this, you wanna make sure that the entire time you're not reacting to something that was just said, but you are thinking things through, being considerate.
Having children will help improve this skill. I don't say what I'm thinking all the time to my children.
So just make sure that through this conversation, even before you get started, as we're going through this list and making sure that you guys agree to all 11 of these rules.
Think before you speak.
Make sure you think before you speak. Be considerate of each other's feelings. Number 10 is set a timer. So we are kind of huge on this one, right? Like any meeting that we ever attend, we are like, okay, if you say you're going to start at this time, start at that time. And if you say it's going to be an hour conversation,
be done in 1 hour.
Yeah.
Not an hour and 1 minute or 5 minutes. Be done in 1 hour because
Yeah.
I stop listening at 1 hour.
Right. And you don't want it to go on for too long. There's all sorts of things that the timer is going to help. Your very first conversation is probably going to be your longest conversation because you're putting it all out there on the table. You're working through a lot of things on that first chit chat.
When you set a timer, you know there's an end to this conversation.
Yeah.
Doesn't mean you'll never have one again. It just means that you're not going to be sitting there for the next 12 hours of your life discussing money. Especially if it's your first conversation and you're not used to it or not comfortable with it and you don't like it. You can't do it all day long.
When the timer goes off, it doesn't mean that your conversation is done. Because if you only have time for an hour and it's your first conversation, there's probably more that you need to talk about. So that when the timer goes off, that's when you need to reschedule, set it into your calendar.
Not reschedule, just schedule an additional meeting.
Okay, yeah. And make sure that that conversation comes up as soon as possible. You don't want to say, okay, we're going to revisit this in a month because you're going to forget things.
Nothing will happen.
So set that timer and end the conversation when the timer goes off. And if the conversation is left open-ended, you need to...
Close it. No. Talk about it again.
Yeah. Find another time as soon as possible in your calendar where you guys can, again, make sure that the timing is right and you can have room for that conversation to pick right back up where you left off.
And do that right away. As soon as that timer goes off, get your phones out. Well, you'll probably have to go get them and turn them on because we told you to get rid of them and turn them off. But
That's right.
Get them, do whatever you do, and then right then and there, schedule the meeting. This is the best one.
I think it's a really great idea to make a treat. And this is our tip number 10, or no,
11.
And this is our tip number 11.
That's why it was my finger.
Yes, and tip number 11 is to make sure that you make it a little bit more enjoyable than it could be. Just having a treat, and that might just be popping a bag of popcorn or throwing some cookie dough in the oven really quick. But it just kind of keeps it a slightly less casual and not quite such a strict, formal talk.
Right.
Then a bonus tip we have for you guys is just remember to always just be grateful for each other.
Nobody's perfect. We all make mistakes. This is something that's going to take steps. You're not going to change instantly. You have a lot of habits that you've been doing your whole entire life. It's going to be hard to break those habits and create new ones. So take a big deep breath. No one's going to be able to handle it the first time. That's why it's a progression. You get better and better as you do it.
Those are our 11 tips for you guys on how to instantly increase your success when it comes to talking to your spouse about money. So once you guys have agreed that you both plan to follow these rules when it comes time to talk about money, so then the next thing you're going to want to do right away is go and download the Financial Unity Planner Kit for Couples. It's 100% free. You guys can go download it and start getting a jump start on it. But in the next video in this series we're going to do, we will dive really deep into it and show you exactly how we use it to talk about money.
So these 11 tips are going to help everybody. But there's additional things that you do as a couple that are going to help you be successful.
Because these 11 tips are going to help, but every marriage is completely different. Every relationship has something unique about it, and the way you guys talk is going to be different from the way we talk. And then customize it to what works best for your family. So we want to know what tips or rules have you guys set that have been able to create an environment, a warm and friendly environment. But really, seriously, what has helped you guys be able to get that money conversation started and keep going with it? We want to know, so leave those down in the comments below and we'll all help each other out. Thanks you guys so much for watching. Like I said, make sure you are subscribed because this series is going to have several
series. There's an S on both ends.
This series is going to have several videos that talk all about how to get your spouse on board. These are the rules that just set a good foundation for you guys to have a successful conversation. Next video, we are diving deep all about how to actually get that conversation going and get your goals aligned with your finances. So thanks you guys so much for watching, and we will talk to you very soon. Bye.
Thanks for having me.
Bam. Ow. Bam. One more time. Ow.